Okay, welcome back. I think it's safe to say we're now up to pretty much the final phase of the playthrough, so I'm going to give a quick recap for the benefit of those just joining us. We have just finished the Hubble Space Telescope, which has given us a nice boost to our science and hopefully kept us in the game because we're still behind Poland on tech. However, we are now officially at the point where we're level with the Netherlands, so I think the main thing that could potentially stop us from winning the game at this point is going to be Poland beating us to the science victory. They have already constructed one of the spaceship parts. The advantage we have, of course, is that we're not an AI, so we're not going to be stupid about prioritizing our resources or anything like that. So I think we can definitely do this, but as you can see, we're also massively behind them on military, so we also have to juggle a few other priorities, like keeping them nice and distracted, and just try to be as efficient as possible in getting these spaceship parts built. So what I've decided to do is, I was planning to build a spaceship part here, and I still might, but I think what I'm going to do first is I'm actually going to throw up the shrine and the temple, because we still need them in order to build the Grand Temple in Constantinople. It's all very overdue, but I think it might be worth doing just because we currently have 1,000 faith. Pretty sure we need 2,000 in order to get our next great scientist. 2,500, okay. That's kind of thrown me off a bit. 2,500 is probably not realistic. 1,000 for a great engineer might be better, but we can't currently use them on spaceship parts. We can potentially get a few tenets for our ideology in order to speed up the spaceship part construction, but that is the level 3 tenet, and we currently just have the one level 1 tenet, so I'm not sure that's realistic, and in that case... Okay, that's really thrown off my plans, but I think what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to work on the SS booster here, and I'm also actually going to change the way we're managing our citizens. As you can see, we're well ahead on Great Scientist compared to Great Engineer, and I think at this point there's no real threat that we're going to accidentally produce a Great Engineer. So we're going to start working some of these production tiles a little bit more heavily, with the exception of in this town, The Hague, because The Hague has very poor growth potential, so we're going to play it safe there. I'm going to hold off on the SS booster here because I probably am going to start building that at The Hague, but I'm going to wait until the Manhattan project is done before we throw ourselves into this. I think we'll still beat Ankara because Ankara has very low production. So I'm going to instead build a cargo ship, and I'm going to use that cargo ship to send some extra production to The Hague, and hopefully that will be the fastest way to build the third SS booster, because we do need 3 of them. We're already working on 2 of them. We're working on whatever that is, the cockpit at Constantinople. I think those are the main things we need to do this turn. There's not really much we can do with our workers at this point. I think we'll just put them in our towns and put them to sleep. Cargo ship here is able to do something new, so we're not actually using the production at Ankara for anything particularly important now. So I think what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to move some production to The Hague, because we know we're going to be building a spaceship part there, so that's got to be the best option. Gatling gun here we're going to put on alert stance. And the other thing I was planning to do in this turn, which I'm now not so sure about, is we know that Leventa is going to benefit a lot more from our gold gifts right now, and we are just about to drop out of friendship with them. So I was very tempted just to give them some gold, just to keep the faith going. But now that I know I need 2,500, I'm a little bit thrown off by that. So I might just hold back. Yeah, I think we'll just end the turn. Okay, Ashurbanipal wants open borders. We are going to give him our open borders, but we're going to take a little bit of gold off him. I think that's fine. I don't think there's any real downside for us to do that. And I also want to point this out just because it's absolutely offensive to me. How can they possibly have thought that was a good place to settle a city? That is like the worst location I have ever seen for a city. There is almost zero potential there, and anything this town can do, this town here can do better. So it's just completely pointless, but it's not actually going to hold back Poland at all. Ashurbanipal has actually lost one of his towns to the Netherlands, and if I had to guess, I think that's probably a sign that... Okay, well, you're not going to have my open borders then. If I had to guess, I would say that's probably a sign that that they're about to make peace. He could go for the capital. I'm not sure he would. No one's giving me a good deal for these, except Ashurbanipal. Yeah, I don't see any reason to give her open borders. We're not threatened by her, we can always turn Poland against her. She is starting to build up quite a stack of Great War bombers there, which is slightly concerning. But we should have the mobile SAM. Yeah, we do have the mobile SAM there, which should protect us, so I think that's fine. Assign delegates, world leader. Okay, we're going to vote for Poland because we want to stay on as good terms with Poland as possible. I don't think he's a threat to us. in terms of a diplomatic victory. So we're just going to try and do whatever we can to dissuade him from going to war with us. Production to Istanbul, yeah, I think we do want to carry that on. And we're just going to skip through the turns. Okay, so the Celts actually actively want war with the Netherlands, which is perfect. I don't really think they stand a chance, but we should be able to pay them to kick that off straight away. And that should keep those two nicely distracted. Okay, so we've successfully rigged pretty much all the elections we were going for. We're no longer friends with Leventa. We've completed the Manhattan Project, which is great. I think what I will do is, even though I'm not sure we can necessarily make a huge amount of use out of this faith, we do currently have 700 in the bank. So I think if we gift 500 gold for 40 influence, that's pretty much going to buy them as an ally for probably the rest of the game. So let's just do it. And then with our free production in The Hague, we are going to move on to the SS Booster. And as you can see, that's a lot faster than Ankara would have managed. So I think it is the right choice. And this is going to massively slow down our growth. But I think it's going to be worth it. Yeah, so it's pretty much going to stop us from growing, but it drops the SS Booster to 13 turns, which is probably going to be worth it in the long run. And outside of that, I don't think there's a huge amount we can do on this particular turn, so we're going to skip through it again. I am expecting the Netherlands to make peace with Assyria pretty soon. I did forget to set the Celts on them. I don't want to see Poland make peace with the Huns. That's a bit of a concern. Because if anyone's going to betray us, it's going to be one of those two, probably not Poland. But I still think the Huns could potentially go for a kind of opportunistic attack on us. Could do some real damage. So if Poland pretty much just outright destroys the Huns, I think that's completely fine. Okay, so we've lost the trade route between Attila's court and Ankara. I don't think that's going to affect us too much. Golden Age is ended. I think what we're going to do is we're just going to immediately kick off a new one. We are currently working on 4 different spaceship parts, so the extra boost to our production has to be worth it. It's going to last 12 turns too, which is great. I think that's because... I'm just going to check this. I think that's because of one of the wonders. Yeah, Chichen Itza. So having Constantinople is still paying dividends, even this late in the game. So we can work on an atomic bomb here, which is, I think, probably tempting me most right now. Could in theory go for a nuclear plant or something like that, but I think it's safe to say we're not actually going to work on anything spaceship related in Ankara. So let's just play it safe. Let's go for the atomic bomb, and then that should at least dissuade Attila from attacking us, and potentially give us a kind of, well, literally a nuclear option against Poland if we need it. Cargo ship here we are going to send to The Hague with production. And that drops it to 11 turns, so yeah, it's still going to beat Iconium to get that done. Iconium is actually looking a little bit slow. Let's see what we can do. So it's already got the specialists. Yeah, I don't think there's much we can do to actually speed that one up, but the space race is definitely still going to be going in 18 turns time, so I think that's not going to matter too much. Okay, we've got ourselves a new policy, so let's check this out. I'm pretty set on just spending all of these on ideology now. I don't think Merchant Navy is going to help us much, and I don't think, well, I know Navigation School definitely isn't. This could actually help a bit. +4 production in our capital could actually make a difference to... It could make a difference to our spaceship building, but a lot of these options are probably slightly better. So I'm probably leaning towards skyscrapers, because we do want to get the solar plant, and we do want to get that as quickly as we can. So yeah, I think I will just go for that, and then let's see what we can do. So, some of these buildings are pretty cheap now. I'll probably actually buy the shrine here, it's a bit of a rip-off, but still worth having. And then we can potentially build the temple there next turn without actually taking production off the spaceship parts. Ecology will be done in 3 turns, at which point we should be able to build the solar plant. I believe there's a desert tile around here somewhere. Or it's on a desert. Yeah, it's actually on a desert. So we do want to get the solar plant there. It won't cost us any uranium. And before we end the turn here, there are 2 things I want to check. Firstly, let's see what situation we're in with the city-states. So we're friends with most of them. We're not friends with Zanzibar, and Zanzibar are currently accepting gold gifts. However, I think we're just too far off for that to be worth the gold, so I don't think I'm going to go for that. The rest of them are looking fairly friendly. Not threatening to drop out of friendship with any of them in the next couple of turns. So I think what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to see if I can bribe the Celts into kicking off their war with the Dutch slightly early. Okay, so they actually don't want to do that at all. They definitely do want to go to war with them, but they're not willing to do it if I don't join them. Okay, so let's try doing it the other way around. Okay, so he does want quite a bit. He wants us to vote against banning ivory, which I probably would anyway. He wants our whales. I don't want to give him the whales. Let's see. Okay, let's try this. Let's try 9 gold per turn. Okay, I think we can probably do this. There we go, he does accept 11 goals per turn, so that's going to set him at war with the Celts. And then what I'm tempted to do is, while he's distracted with that, and he's still got his war with Assyria too, if I can just kick off one final massive war between Poland and the Dutch, that's going to keep us pretty safe. And he wants almost nothing for that, although he does want our ivory, which is not ideal. Okay, let's see. 7 gold per turn. I think he would accept it. The risk here is, if everyone decides to go peaceful at the same time, it's going to be kind of difficult to really keep the wars going, especially with Poland. Could still set them on Byzantium. And I do want him to do some damage to Attila, so I'm going to hold back on that for now and just keep it as a kind of option in reserve. And then, because I am able to build the temple immediately, I am just going to do that. And I think at that point we're pretty much good just to move on to the next turn. And let's have a little look. So actually it looks like Assyria could potentially lose their capital here. They are pretty much surrounded by the Celts, so if the Celts decides to intervene, could potentially save Assyria, but yeah, that actually looks like it could be the end for Ashurbanipal. Okay, a new turn begins. I think what we're going to do with this is, even though we are just about to finish off the SS Cockpit, we don't actually need it that urgently, so same number of turns, we can finish off the Grand Temple, and I'm not sure if I'm working this out right, but I feel like there's a slim chance we could actually get that final Great Scientist just in time for it to be useful, so we are going to go for that. So far, it doesn't really look like any damage is being done to the Huns at all, which is a little bit disappointing. We check this out, we can see it's still going down too, so I think Assyria is pretty much doomed. The one upside of that is it does make William look like more of a warmonger, so it should be that little bit easier to persuade the rest of the world to go to war with him. In particular, I think there is going to be at least one more massive clash between the Polish and the Dutch, which will hopefully keep them distracted to the end. Okay, so yeah, as expected, Ashurbanipal has officially been wiped out, which gives us some extra pearls. I think it might have actually cost us a luxury resource, I'm not sure. Our happiness still appears to be okay. She's not willing to pay us too much. I'm going to see if we can do a little bit better than that. Yeah, it does lose us a trading partner, so that is one very small downside. Don't think it matters too much though. I think what I will do is, I think we are already giving our pearls to Poland, who has now 100k in the bank, which is crazy. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is, I'm going to have a quick check of this. So, Istanbul is demanding silk. Everywhere is demanding silk. One place is demanding silver. So, let's see if he's got any silver spare. If not... Okay, so he's only got copper. We can get that pretty cheap, I think. But I'm not likely to go for that. I'm going to have a quick look just to see if we can find some silk. No silk, but we can get silver for 9 gold per turn, so that's still going to give us a bit of extra growth in one of our towns. And we should finish ecology next turn, which should give us the solar plant, which is going to give us that little boost in Istanbul. And I'm starting to think it was maybe a mistake to work on this spaceship part in Iconium, but then again, we're definitely still going to be going in 15 turns, so I don't think it should matter too much. Okay, so the Celts actually managed to take a town off the Dutch. They might actually manage to take the old capital of Assyria as well, which should be interesting. I think something I'd quite like to do is that I don't want to set off any wars that are going to help the Huns indirectly. So I think it's going to be worth trying to send the Netherlands to war with the Huns as well. And if that leads to the Dutch becoming slightly overstretched, that's probably good for us. Okay, so it looks like we've got yet another great artist. So we should be able to just keep chaining the Golden Ages pretty much to the end of the playthrough, I think. Haven't had a great writer in some time, so I think we should be getting another one of those pretty soon. Let's have a little look. So yeah, great writer should come in a few turns' time, which should give us at least one more social policy. Not sure exactly what we'll spend that on, but we'll check that at the time. Ankara can actually work a couple of citizens on production. Still going to keep growing, so probably worth doing. A good way off having a great engineer. And we can also work on the research lab too, which we should have been doing already. Grand Temple is going to be done in one turn, and then we can get back to work on the spaceship part. There was one other thing I wanted to check here. Not here, actually. I think in The Hague, yeah, in The Hague we're pretty close to getting a new great scientist. That's going to be in about 8 or 9 turns. So I think that should just about carry us through. Not quite to particle physics, but we should be getting there relatively soon with the help of that great scientist. And yeah, let's actually have a look now. I don't know if the AI tends to be less tempted by war if they're already kind of stretched, but he is willing to go for this, and I feel like we can probably get it fairly cheap. Yeah, he accepts for 8 gold per turn. That's not really going to affect us too much, but it does mean that Attila is likely to start losing a few of his towns, and I'm not really worried about the Netherlands in terms of victory, because he's definitely not going to get a domination victory for one thing, and I think we know that he's behind us in science as well. So that should be pretty safe. Just going to sleep this guy till the next golden age is needed, and let's see. So United Nations is convening to discuss banning ivory, which we already know we're voting against. We've already sold our vote on that. And the scholars of Kaiser are seeking a great scientist, which we should get pretty soon. And let's see if we're actually within range. So 43 influence, I feel like we could potentially supplant the Dutch as their ally. Don't think that actually gains us too much because they're just sat on a pretty crappy island. A really poor location there. I don't think we really gain much from becoming their ally. So I'm not going to prioritize that. Let's have a little look. See how this is hanging on. So I think that's actually recovered slightly, so there's a chance that the Celts are not going to be able to take that off them. On the other hand, they should be pretty stretched now fighting the Huns. The Dutch, I mean. So that's possibly to the Celts' benefit. Okay, so Poland also wants war with the Dutch. I think that's probably inevitable as a result of them taking yet another capital. It's good to know that's an option, but I don't think we need to make that happen now, as, okay, so Casimir actually makes peace with Attila. That's a bit of a problem. I think we have two choices. We can either set him against Byzantium, which I don't think we gain much from, or we just set him on the Dutch, which means that the Dutch are going to be at war with pretty much everyone, but we know for a fact that we do need to keep Poland at war, so I think we do just have to accept that. Okay, cultural victory contender. The Netherlands needs to become influential over 2 more people. Let's check this out. So I'm thinking that the Polish should be able to resist this. Yeah, they're due to become influential over the Polish in 188 turns, so even if they get the tech that doubles their tourism, I don't think that's actually going to realistically be a problem before the end of the playthrough, so we should be fine. Going to complete our first spaceship part, and let's see, we can provide some horses to Boudica. She would be really stupid to take this deal, but I think we will see if we can pull it off. Yeah, looks like the gravy train has finally come to an end. She's not willing to take that deal anymore. I'll see if I can take 1 gold per turn. No, just 0 interest in horses at this point. Well, it's about time, so fair enough. Okay, let's see. So we can do quite a few things in this town. I think instead of buying the solar plant, we should of course just build it. It's only 3 turns, and we can't really work on anything else too important. SS Cockpit, we know that Constantinople is very close to finishing. So yeah, let's go for the solar plant, and that should help us to build the final couple of spaceship parts. This place is done with the Grand Temple, so we're making 58 faith per turn. I think we are probably on track to get that last great scientist before it stops being useful. So we're going to finish off the SS Cockpit in 2 turns, and we should be doing pretty well after that. We still need to do a couple of things here, so I think it's going to be worth having a nuclear plant here, potentially. That's going to cost us 900 gold, but we should be on our way there pretty soon. We do need to send Poland to go to war with someone else, and I think I would prefer for them to go to war with the Dutch than for them to go to war with Byzantium. So let's see what they want for this. Almost nothing, actually. Let's see. Let's try 5 gold per turn, plus the 2 horses. They do accept that, so yeah, they were raring to go. Okay, so that should be interesting. We should be able to watch that play out, and should also keep them both distracted and not at war with us. Slight risk that the Dutch will take peace with the Huns, in which case the Huns could cause us some problems, but we're going to keep a close eye on that. Okay, new term begins. We've finished off a couple of research agreements, which I seem to keep forgetting about. That happened a little sooner than I expected. So we're now just researching mobile tactics and its particle physics. I think potentially we're not going to be able to quite get there using a great scientist. We're probably around 5 turns off, so it would probably make sense just to finish this organically, I think. I can't quite tell. Otherwise though, we do have a cargo ship free which can send production to Istanbul. I'm not sure we necessarily need to do that quite so much now. Could send production to The Hague instead. Already sending something to Iconium, so we can't really boost things too much there. I think we'll just play it safe and just keep the production coming to Istanbul, because that is where most of the spaceship parts that are left are going to be coming from. And then it's going to make very little difference, but I believe we do have that social policy which increases our science for extra happiness. So we're just going to buy the copper off Casimir. He's asking for a little bit more than that. Let's try 9 per turn. Does accept that. So yeah, that should give us a small boost in science. Okay, Casimir wants another research agreement, and I have to say the last one concluded a little sooner than I expected. So even though I doubt this is actually going to kick in any useful way, we are just going to accept it. We don't really need our gold too much for anything else. Okay, so we've lost Colombo as an ally, and I think Colombo actually had... Yeah, Colombo does have a couple of uranium, so we're going to try and win him back. That also means he's at war with the Dutch, and if the Dutch do somehow manage to really push Poland back, then we could actually lose Colombo too. But yeah, I think we need to give them a bribe. Okay, Wheel of the King Day has ended in Ankara, demands silk, but we know we can't get any of that, so I think we just have to accept that's not going to be a thing. And we're going to start moving our next spaceship part towards Istanbul. I think we might have to move the Great General out. So let's just drop him there. And we've got some free production over here, which I think we're going to spend on a nuclear plant. In particular, if we can win Colombo back as an ally, we're going to be able to benefit from 13 influence, so we wouldn't actually get enough if we went for it now. I do definitely want to get that uranium back. We don't necessarily need uranium too badly for Constantinople. It's not going to be building any more spaceship parts at this point. So what I'll probably do instead is I'll start working on just a few extra military units. We can get a mobile SAM in 3 turns, and you can't really go too far wrong with that. We do know that Byzantium has at least 4 Great War Bombers, so anything we can do to dissuade her from using those should be good. Although, to be honest, I think once we finish the nuclear bomb, she's not going to want war with us anyway. Okay, and the Celts is influential over us as well now. Again, I don't think that matters. I don't think anyone other than the Netherlands has any kind of shout for a cultural victory. Assyria is clearly recovering. Kaisel is actually taking a lot of damage from the Celts, so that's an unexpected and unwelcome development. Could actually lose another friend there. Yeah, we will accept this again. Okay, William wants the research agreement too. I think, again, we should just go and accept this, because if nothing else, it should make him that little bit less likely to turn on us. Okay, Theodora has actually declared war on William, which is kind of the opposite of the order I thought that would go in. That also conveniently keeps her nice and distracted. I don't think she's actually going to be able to do anything to William, but it does mean that pretty much the entire world is now at war with him, which is good. Byzantium stole penicillin, not really too bothered by that. I don't think they're going to threaten us in any way in terms of science. That really doesn't matter too much. Now, things are pretty free in Istanbul. I think medical lab is probably the best option for our science and our continued growth. But we do need to start, I think, getting a few extra military units. I don't think there's anything we can do for Kaisel. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I think that's maybe Kyrgyzstan? I'm not sure. I don't actually know what country that is. Let's see. So, we would need another 45 influence to overtake the Netherlands. We'd need 1,000 gold to make that happen, so yeah, I think we will end up losing them as a friend, unfortunately. Colombo is still looking fairly safe, and we do still have 3 uranium in the back, so I think it's okay that we wait until we bribe them until slightly later. And then we do now have -2 iron, but I don't think that matters too much, because that is of course just coming from the frigates. We can upgrade them anytime if we want to. Okay, Kaisel's still hanging on for now. We've got an extra great writer, which is potentially going to mean we can get to that level 2 tenet sometime pretty soon. Just going to leave him here for now because he's not actually able to get us to the next level yet, although actually, I stand corrected, he's giving a lot more culture than he used to, so Let's just go for it, and that's going to give us an extra policy next turn. Sign delegates. So Poland has proposed this, and we've already committed some delegates to voting against it, which is concerning because I don't want to give him any reason not to like us. But still, I think we don't want this to happen. We don't want to lose the happiness we get from our ivory, so let's just stop that. What I could also potentially do is just give him the ivory and just try and take some gold from him, but I really don't think that's a good idea, so we're just going to skip through the turns. Kaisel is still just about hanging on, being attacked by just the one battleship for now, so if the Celts don't send anything else, which we will soon see, but if they don't send anything else, a battleship alone will not be able to take the town. They'll have to send some kind of melee unit up to take that. Actually, they do come over to attack with a privateer. It's still just about hanging on, but I think it is going to be a goner, unless they specifically focus down the privateer when they get their turn. Even then, I think the anti-aircraft gun can just take it instead. Okay, we've got our new policy, let's have a look. So, level 1 tenets, we've already looked at these. I don't think... Some of them will help us, especially in terms of happiness, but we're doing fine for happiness, so I'm probably not going to go for that. Other options would be +1 happiness from our science buildings, +1 production and food and science and so on in every city is very tempting, and let's see actually, so factories for an extra 25% science output. That's gotta be the best option. I think that really jumps out at me. Party leadership is also very good, but potential 25% boost to our science just about everywhere has to be worth doing. And then let's see actually if we can get ourselves a little bit more coal. I do want to check actually just to make sure that we do have the factory in all of our towns. Yeah, so we do have factories everywhere, so that's a pretty big boost to our science across the board. And then this guy we're just going to put to sleep. Mobile Sam here is going to help defend us against Byzantium, who really seems to be surrounding our borders in a very scary type of way. I think we should be able to hold her off. And she is at war with the Netherlands, so I think she probably won't attack us. Even so, we're gonna want as much defense here as we can get. I think we will just go for a military base because it should let us hold out just that little bit longer. Okay, so Kaiser has officially gone down to the Celts. We're gonna have to move him somewhere else. Not sure what exactly we should prioritize though. Okay, we've got an extra unit from Sudan. Let's have a look, see what this is. Okay, so they're now giving us mechanized infantry, which is not bad. Everything is going to help. We've finished our second spaceship part, the third is on the way. Not currently at war with anyone, so even though it is slightly risky to send it onto the ocean, it should be pretty safe. Apparently it's fastest to go this way through Kabul. Again, I think that should be safe, so we'll just do what the game tells us. Got some free production over here as well now, so I think the sensible thing to do would be just to get a few extra military units. So we're going to get a bazooka. Or in fact, we don't really have any anti-aircraft defense here, so instead of doing that, let's go for the Mobile Sam. Same number of turns. Free production back in Istanbul. I think anything we can do to improve our production would help, but there's not really too much we can do. We can get a recycling center for a bit of extra aluminium. Most of the late game units do require that. Hydro plant gives us extra production in all of our tiles next to a river, so that does actually help us a little bit. So I think it does have to be that. And we're going to send our free spy to Leventa just to ensure we can keep the free faith coming in for as long as possible. Okay, Theodora's got the Manhattan project, so it might be time to start thinking about bomb shelters. We do now finish our nuke, which should change the way the AI treats us, and I never quite know how to feel about that. I think it's always helpful. I could be wrong. There is a chance they'll then see you as more of a threat. I'm not sure if that's how the AI actually thinks. Usually it helps you in terms of diplomacy. It makes people a little bit scared of you, but I'm not sure if that in some way potentially makes your opponents more likely to declare on you. You would think probably not, because otherwise it wouldn't really be worth spending that many turns building an atomic bomb. So I think it's going to be fine. And I can't really see too much we can build here that's going to help us too much. Now there's a small chance that medical lab will help us just with extra science before the end, but it is going to come in pretty late. So it might be better just to keep building units, but I think I will go for the medical lab, just in case we need that last little bit of extra science from our population. And then the atomic bomb I think we're just going to leave in Istanbul, where I think we also need a bomb shelter, but we should be able to work on that pretty soon. And we should have a new great scientist coming in here in 1 or 2 turns. Yeah, so we will have a new great scientist coming in next turn. But I think we're going to wait till particle physics is done before we use him. Okay, so the Celts wants a declaration of friendship. So I think that is a sign that... I mean, is this... they're afraid of us. So maybe that's a direct effect of the nuclear bomb. The risk of this is that the Polish, and I think probably the Huns, don't really like the Celts. And the Celts is not a threat to us, so it doesn't really matter if we bother the Celts. So I'm going to say no to that. We should get a bit of extra reaction from the other civs as well. We'll see which ones are afraid of us and which ones don't really care. Oh crap, Leventa was actually under attack by the Celts, so I think that loses us some faith. Even Poland is afraid. Okay, well he's got to be the scariest civ on the map, so that's good. The nuclear bomb is definitely working, hopefully going to enable us to avoid war the rest of the game. Yeah, so the loss of Leventa I think has had a direct effect on our faith production. Okay, these guys want a declaration of friendship too. They're apparently afraid. I don't think he'd think twice about stabbing us in the back, even with a declaration of friendship, so again, I'm going to say no. Yeah, slightly concerning about Leventa. I think we can probably still do it. We can probably still get that great scientist. She's guarded. Okay, I don't really care. We can probably still get that extra great scientist in 12 turns or so, which should be just in time for it to still be useful. And Poland hasn't actually produced any extra spaceship parts since the first, which is a good sign. Great scientist has been produced in The Hague. We're going to put him to sleep temporarily. And we're going to use him once we've finished off particle physics. Atomic bomb we're going to put to sleep, and we're going to make sure that this makes it safely back to Istanbul. This is going to finish off in 6 turns, so definitely made sense to build it there. And we're going to need to find a new place to send Ibrahim the spy, so I think we're going to go for Ormus just because we're potentially going to lose them as a friend. Also, that's at least one place that the Celts can't take from us, because they are already allies with them. So yeah, let's just go for Ormus. And that should at least ensure that we get a bit of extra food in our capital. And it looks like the Celts in general are a little bit stronger than I thought. They're taking cities all over the place. I think they just took one of the Netherlands too, over here somewhere. Yeah, Breda I think was one of the Netherlands towns. They've also taken back Assyria's old capital, so they're actually really rising through the ranks. They've overtaken the Netherlands now. But we don't really border them too much, so I think even if they didn't like us, and to be fair I think they do like us, even if they didn't, I think they're less of a threat to us than certain others, so we're not going to worry about that too much. We are just going to move on. Okay, so that's a good sign. Yeah, I don't think we have to worry about her. Okay, lots of elections rigged, and that actually gets us back to being allies of Colombo, so that's great. We don't have to spend any gold on bribing them, and that gives us a couple of extra bits of uranium. Milan is under attack, but it doesn't look like they're under attack by any melee units, so I think that should be pretty much okay. Don't think we need to worry too much about what our spies are up to. We got some free production in Istanbul, so let's go for the bomb shelter. Hopefully won't be necessary, but we haven't got too much we can really be doing there now, and it is obviously our most important town, so I think that does make sense. Should be able to launch this turn, I think. Yes, we can. Okay, so I don't know if the AI actually responds to you preparing your spaceship, but we do only need the 3 parts now, so we're definitely getting a lot closer. We should get the one from Iconium pretty soon, and Istanbul can produce spaceship parts extremely quickly, so we're looking pretty good overall. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep saving the gold up, and we're going to get an extra production boost from a nuclear plant in one of our other towns. And we're going to spend most of our production from now on just on building extra military units, in the hopes that we can defend from anyone if anyone does decide to attack us. It's looking pretty good. We're the furthest ahead in science, well not in science, we're the furthest ahead in spaceship parts, but we're not the furthest ahead in science, and we're clearly not the strongest player. On the other hand, it definitely does look like no one is considering attacking us at any point, and even those units from the border, around our borders from Byzantium, have decided to move elsewhere. So yeah, it's looking pretty positive, but we'll see how things play out over the next few turns. Okay, so I think we got our iron from being friends with Colombo again, which is good, because that's made us better friends with Sidon, and I think we're now pretty firmly their allies. Yeah, 182 out of 60, so hopefully we will be getting a few extra units from them just to help us defend. Things are free over at The Hague. We can build a nuclear plant in 4 turns. I think what we're going to do instead is we're just going to keep producing the units. So let's go again with a mobile SAM, just because there are potentially going to be a lot of... Well, actually, looking at this now, we should have something that's going to help us defend from navies. So yeah, let's go for the bazooka. And then we've got a stacked unit here, so we're going to move the mobile SAM over in this direction just to defend if these guys do decide to attack us from towards with planes. We should be able to at least do some damage to them. Bomb shelter is going to finish off next turn along with military base in Constantinople, so yeah, it's looking like we're going to be at least kind of capable of defending ourselves. There's a vote happening on World Leader. I feel like we can probably make some money out of this. Let's have a little look at the World Congress. So yeah, there's absolutely no chance that any of these guys are gonna win the diplomatic victory. So I want to see if we can maybe get some money off someone. Okay, I'm going to try getting 510 gold off these guys. They have absolutely tons of gold, so they might accept it. Yeah, they actually do, so that's an easy boost of 500 extra gold. And I don't think it's actually going to have any real-world impact on how things play out. Okay, so looking at the city-state situation, it looks like Milan is the worst off. So if we can get there with them... So it's Poland that's attacking them, and Poland is looking pretty likely to wipe them out. 1,000 gold would get us 55 influence, so yeah, Milan is probably just going to be a goner, unfortunately. I don't think there's anything we can do to stop that. So, since we do have these skyscrapers tenet, we might as well make some kind of use of it, so let's start spending our gold on a few extra production buildings. 900 gold for a nuclear plant here I think is probably going to be worthwhile, so let's just do it. Helps us get that SS booster maybe slightly faster. I didn't actually check the turns there, but extra production is of course always useful. And then I think in Constantinople things are looking relatively safe. Well, not necessarily, we could obviously be killed pretty easily by Byzantium, but I think I would prefer just to go for the nuclear plant here, just to get that production up and keep producing units. Things are looking pretty okay in the short term, so I think in the long term the nuclear plant is going to help us produce more units overall. And then we have lots of free production in Istanbul, and we really don't have too much we can do with it, so we've got 2 turns to go until particle physics is done. So let's just see what the best thing we can get in 2 turns is. We can actually produce an atomic bomb in 3 turns, so that's really solid, but I think nuclear submarine 2 turns is probably going to be the best bet. Potentially means we can also put our nuclear bomb actually on the submarine and move it near to Warsaw perhaps. But I'm also a little bit worried about Attila, so I'm also kind of tempted to have some kind of nuke outside Attila's court. So this all looks pretty scary, but I'm pretty sure he's just fighting against the Celts, so I'm not going to worry too much. Okay, next turn we do have a potential free trade route here, which we have been previously sending production to Iconium, but I think at this point we need to send all the production we can to Istanbul just to get those spaceship parts done as soon as possible. Otherwise it's a pretty quiet turn, but we are going to finish quite a few things next turn, including the nuclear sub, particle physics, and mechanized infantry over in The Hague, so it should be interesting. Does look like Milan is going to fall to Poland pretty soon, unfortunately. Okay, just about still hanging on, but there are a few things here that can, I think, attack it next turn. These guys are going to give us an immediate 240 gold for pearls. I'm not sure if they'll go any higher than this. I'm going to try 270. Okay, so 240 is the best we can get. Let's just accept. Okay, so a lot of stuff just happened. I think we got, yeah, great musician, which is not really going to help us, but still. Okay, so particle physics is done. We can get to work on our next spaceship part, which should be pretty quick now. We've got a lot of production done. We've got a lot of production available to us, 165 per turn. Let's have a look. Yeah, SS engine, 7 turns, so it's not actually that much faster than it was before, but that's still about as good as I think we can get. And we can now start moving towards the final tech we need, which is nanotechnology. And I think there's no point delaying. We are just going to spend our great scientist as soon as we can, if I can actually click on him. Okay, I'm still not sure what the trick is here, but I'm just going to go ahead and move the battleship out so we can actually click on him. So 9,300 science if we kick him off now. I don't really see a massive downside to that. There is a small argument for trying to hang on slightly longer, but we do get access to a few pretty good things if we just go ahead and take the boost now. Combined arms gives us access to tanks and anti-tank guns. Thinking about it, I'm not sure it actually matters too much. Robotics can make a difference, but we've not really gone down that road. We've already got the Spaceship factory for free in Istanbul as a result of getting the Hubble Space Telescope, so robotics is not really important either. Missile cruisers are really good, but again, we can just build other things instead. So I guess we don't need to go for it just yet. Let's actually have a look and see when the rest of our towns are going to produce. So Great Scientist here is likely to be probably not quick enough. And then we will get one in Istanbul very quickly. Yeah, so we should get at least one more Great Scientist in Istanbul, and I think once we use him, we're going to be very close. We're going to be within reach of nanotechnology, definitely. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and spend him. And we're going to be one turn off getting combined arms. And then the battleship we're going to move back in. And then we don't actually have anything we can do with our great musician because we've not been making any effort at all to create a great piece of music slots or whatever they're called. So I think we're just going to sleep him for now. We can't really do too much with him. And we can potentially go for something like an opera house if we build the prerequisites, which I don't know if I care enough to, but I feel like just having a great person and making zero effort to use them is maybe not overly wise. Yeah, so we could just go for a broadcast tower, which is going to give us plus 33% culture in this city. I guess it's distantly possible that that's going to help us get an extra social policy or something. But no, I'm going to go for the medical... Oh, actually, it's not growing at all. I'm going to go for the bomb shelter. I don't think anyone's going to nuke The Hague. And I'm not too worried about broadcast towers. I don't think it's worth buying one, so we will just move to the next turn. I have forgotten to use my Great Artist, so I will do that. That does help explain why the spaceship production wasn't that much faster in Istanbul compared to what I expected. Yeah, if we kick off the Great Artist, we should get that next spaceship part pretty soon. And we'll still have one in reserve just to use on the final spaceship part. Okay, Combined Arms is done. Byzantium is still stealing our stuff, but I think I missed the opportunity last time just to tell them that I don't care. So that might make her slightly less likely to attack us, although again, I don't think that's going to happen anyway. And then Iconium is done with the spaceship part, so we can't really do too much here. I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference what we do. I guess there's a distant possibility the medical lab is going to help us get a bit of extra science, so we are just going to go for that, and then I'm going to put the SS booster in Istanbul. It's looking pretty good with Poland. They've still only completed the one part. I think they're nicely distracted with all the wars and things that are going on. So we're definitely ahead. But don't want to get too complacent. In theory, Poland is still ahead of us in tech, so there's always that little bit of fear that something could go wrong with that. Extra production to The Hague is not really necessary anymore. We're not really doing anything too important there. So I think what I'd prefer to do is just figure out if we can send just a little bit more production to Istanbul. Looks like we're going to want to send it from The Hague, so let's move over to there. And then we do have a free one here as well. Actually, damn it. That explains why we didn't have a trade route going to Istanbul, because there was one in waiting. Okay. So it might not actually be possible to send any extra production to Istanbul. We might just have to try sending some extra food to The Hague or something like that instead. Can't really think of too much else we can do. We can potentially trade with another Civ for a bit of extra gold, because our gold has just vanished. I'm not sure what's happened. Really somehow crippled our economy. But we're still growing overall, so I'm not really going to worry too much about that. Okay, so our extra cargo ship we can't really do much with. I think we are going to want some more food going to The Hague, so I'm going to move it to Iconium. And we are just going to start feeding that in. And then we've got a free cargo ship here, which is going to keep sending production to Istanbul. Delegates we can now assign. I think we've already committed a few to somebody. I can't remember exactly who. Don't think it really matters too much who we vote for. I guess it's distantly possible that we could have actually given ourselves extra delegates from voting for ourselves, but yeah, I don't think it really matters too much. I am just going to go once again for Poland, because there's still no chance he's going to win a diplomatic victory. And he's definitely the biggest threat to us, so I think that's the best thing we can do. Milan is still clinging on, so that's a bit of extra culture for us, but we're still a way off our next policy, so I don't think it helps us too much. Istanbul should produce a great scientist in the next turn or two. And then we should be pretty close to the final tech we need. Okay, so I just saw that you guys have made peace with the Netherlands, which I don't like. So he's gonna ask for a lot if we want him to go to war with the Huns, but I really do. Yeah. I don't think he actually cares about the horses, but even so, I don't really have anything else I can do with them, so I'm making like 24 gold per turn. The Dutch is still at war. Yeah, that's still not enough. Let's try like 16. He says it's not even close to a fair deal. I feel like he's not going to ask for too much more than that. Let's try 20. Okay, so we're going to have to spend pretty much all our gold to keep him distracted. I could send him to attack Byzantium instead, but Attila is the bigger threat to me. So yeah, even though that is pretty much all our gold gone, I'm hoping it's going to be worth it. I'm not worried about Byzantium. Okay, same turn, William has made peace with Attila, so he should still be at war with the Celts, but there's that slight sense of threat just from William now. We are on pretty good terms with him, but I still have my doubts. I'm being a little bit paranoid now just because we're so close to the finish line. I want to make sure that there's no chance of anyone being able to wipe us out or even do any real damage to us before we can finish off our spaceship. Let's see, actually. So these guys want horses. They want us to connect horses to our network. Maybe I should have hung on to them, but they wouldn't have asked for that if we had them. So I don't think it makes too much of a difference, as Poland does appear to be ahead now when it comes to the United Nations, but yeah, I don't think that matters. Okay, so we've got some free production over in The Hague. I could use this on a military base, but I think we want to be a bit more adaptable now. So I'm going to go for a destroyer, which we can potentially park just outside Istanbul, and that should at least create some kind of zone of control that's going to stop Poland from being able to get through if they do decide to go for a capture. Again, very, very unlikely, but we should play it safe. And then this cargo ship is, yeah, the one we sent to Iconium, so let's send some food to The Hague, because it's not really growing anymore. Otherwise, looks like a pretty quiet turn. Okay, Boudica wants our pearls, we're going to give her marble, other way around. We're going to ask for her marble. This should give us a bit of extra happiness. I don't think anywhere needs that for the Wheel of the King Day, but still worth having a new luxury if we can get one. Now, we're not making any gold anymore, so that's going to make it harder to bribe our opponents. I want to see if we can just get a bit more somehow. So he's actually willing to give us really quite a lot just for our open borders, which makes me think we might be able to get away with 5 per turn, which in turn would be 150. Okay, so he doesn't accept that. I think he'll accept 120. No? Okay, I'm going to try 70. There we go. So he's going to start moving all his units across our land, but that's fine. That means they're probably on their way to attack the Huns, which is about as good as we can ask for. Plus it gets us a bit of extra gold if we need it. Okay, so we're now down to minus 12 gold per turn, but I have of course been forgetting to activate my Golden Age, which immediately solves our gold problems in addition to pretty much boosting all of our towns and what they're working on. So we're now guaranteed to have Golden Ages lasting until, I think, the final turn. Computers is not quite going to be far enough. We still need robotics and nanotechnology, so maybe a little bit premature there, but we should be able to finish off the final spaceship part in 12 turns at the absolute most. In fact, it should be the same as this, so probably 6 or 7 turns. So I think that's going to be fine, and then the Great Scientist is going to come in next turn, which is going to help boost us that little bit further. And we're not likely to get another Great Artist now, so yeah, we're going to save our final Golden Age for when we get to that final tech. Constantinople is doing fine. We can start using our production on more military units, but I think a medical lab is a good thing to have, and we should be able to still keep producing military in the rest of our towns. 830 gold in the bank is not going to be quite enough to buy us another nuclear plant, so I think we're just going to keep saving that for now. Okay, we've got our next Great Scientist. We've connected horses for Mombasa for whatever that's worth. Let's see, actually. What do these guys give us? So they give us food in our capital, which is something we need. What did I just do? Oh my god. So I misclicked, and now I can't use them this turn. I don't think that matters because we still need a couple of extra techs after this, but that was kind of stupid. Okay, never mind. So a harbour here is 2 turns, it's going to give us some extra happiness. Don't think that matters too much. Yeah, we're going to focus pretty much entirely now on just having extra units just to help defend our towns. So I don't think we need aluminium too badly. We've got 7 in the bank. So rocket artillery is always a good unit to have, and I think we'll go for one of those. Otherwise, we've ended our deal to Boudica, which is where the horses came from, and we know she's not going to accept any more, so I think we just have to accept that that's going to be it. Gold per turn is still massively going down, but I'm not too worried about that. We're still probably going to make it to the point where we can build one more, where we can purchase one more building in one of our towns. Otherwise, we could just use it to bribe one of the AIs. So there's an awful lot crowded around outside Istanbul, but I'm hoping it's just going to all try and pass through Iconium. We should see this turn. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Okay, but he doesn't declare on us yet. I don't think he will declare on us, and I'm continually relieved that he doesn't seem to be building any more spaceship parts, but that's definitely pretty threatening. Lots of nuclear subs, which I could be wrong, but I don't think they can attack towns. So yeah, I think they're just passing through, but we can see how strong he is, so we're going to want to keep the defensive military production coming. And yeah, we're going to want to try and keep everyone else at war if we can. Okay, everywhere is demanding silk. I'm still pretty sure we can't have any of that, but we should have a little look just in case. Yeah, so nobody's got silk, and it's going to be 13 turns until we finish off that last research agreement, which could come in handy in theory if we don't use the Great Scientist, but the Great Scientist should get us there first. We're going to finish off our next spaceship part next turn, and yeah, I think we will just spend this now. So we've got computers done, robotics is only 3 turns away, and then we just got one more tech to go after that, so 8 turns time we should be able to work on the final spaceship part, and I am going to have one final check of our towns, just to see if we have any realistic hope of getting one more Great Scientist. So this is going to be more than 13 turns, so I don't think that's going to make any difference, and yeah, that looks to be it. So no more Great Scientists, we are going to have to wait out the last few turns of our tech progression, but in the meantime we're going to keep producing lots of units and just try to make ourselves as hard to kill as possible, because I think we're definitely ahead when it comes to the science victory. Okay, next spaceship part should be done. We've also got some free production over in The Hague, so we're going to pretty much just carry on with what we were doing before. I could get a second atomic bomb, which is definitely tempting. But we only have 3 uranium, so I think I'll hold back on that. We could also go for a nuclear missile, which is going to give us a lot more range, but I don't think I care too much about that. So yeah, let's just go for a destroyer once again. And let's send the one we already have over to Istanbul just to help defend it. I think we should be able to get through. No, we need to get open borders with Byzantium, but I'm sure we can do that, so I'm not too worried. Okay, so we now just need the one final spaceship part, and we win the game. It's looking pretty good. We're going to need a few more turns. We're going to be able to build missile cruisers in 2 turns time, so in the meantime, let's just pick up a couple of extra easily obtainable things. So, slight risk that if someone drops the atomic bomb on us, we could lose pretty much all of our units around here at once, but the town itself should be relatively okay, and I'm actually tempted by the opera house, because then we can at least use this this great musician. Probably not wise though, so yeah, let's just play it safe, let's go for the destroyer, and we can maybe go for an opera house somewhere else. Okay, so this ship is sending 13 production per turn to Ankara, and Istanbul does actually need more food now, but we're already feeding that everything we can be feeding it, so yeah, we're just going to keep sending the production to Ankara, and we might be able to build an opera house or something like that there instead. We'll also have a total of 900 gold next turn, which will be enough to get another nuclear plant, but I think there's a lot better stuff we can do with our gold as well. Look at this. He's on his way to Attila's lands. I think Attila will probably still hold this off and they'll probably make peace, but yeah, he's incredibly scary. He's got loads of nuclear subs. And I believe these are specialists in hunting down and destroying submarines. So we're going to want to build at least one of them and probably start working on them just about everywhere we can. Okay, so cargo ship here. Food to The Hague, we're already doing that. And yeah, it does appear to be growing pretty nicely now, so let's carry that on. Destroyer here, we're just going to put here just so we've got some kind of zone of control around Istanbul. We'll have to nuke it now to get through. Then we've got some free production here, which I'm going to spend on the opera house so we can finally use that great musician. And our free production in Istanbul, I think the thing we were working on got done slightly sooner than expected. No, actually, it was one turn, so that kind of puts us in an awkward position because there's not really too much we can do. I think we'll get a barracks. It's very overdue, but it should at least make our units slightly stronger when we produce them, so why not? Okay, robotics is done, so we're going to get to work straight away on our missile cruisers. Pretty much the best naval unit in the game, so let's get as many of those as we can. This is of course an archipelago map, so it makes sense to try and stock up on those as much as we can. Now I can do a few other things here if I want to. Got a few options that we've not completely explored, so Arsenal feels a little bit overdue. Even so, I think even here it does still make sense just to keep the missile cruisers coming. They don't actually cost much at all, they don't cost any special resources or anything like that. We've already got an atomic bomb, which I don't think we really benefit that much from getting more nuclear weapons. I could be wrong, but I think the kind of diplomatic boost is a bit of a one-off thing. So I don't think there's an awful lot we can do. We can actually get the nuclear station or whatever it's called, nuclear plant perhaps. Not in this town, but in another town. We might actually already have them. Don't think we have one in The Hague. No, we don't. So we can get a nuclear plant in The Hague if we want one. We'll also get a medical lab. And I think it is just about to grow. Yeah, so that's going to help us with our science. We are now 10 turns away from the final tech. Depends if we want to try and keep our gold in reserve to try and bribe people or not, and I think I do. So I am just going to hang on to it. And let's see actually. If we give these guys open borders, I've realised now that pretty much everyone else on the map is using our pearls, so she's the only one who actually wants them. But she really doesn't want to give us open borders. She's asking for quite a lot. I don't think I care that much. Like, if someone goes to war with us, we can just move it across. We can declare war on her anytime. Probably not wise to do so, but yeah, I'm not going to fall for that. I am just going to put this on alert. And yeah, we're just going to keep moving through the turns. Okay, Boudica's completed the Apollo program, which does give us a sense of how far ahead we are. Still no sign of Poland working on any extra spaceship parts. If I had to guess, I would say he's not actually going for a science victory at this point. But I don't want to get too ahead of myself. I'm pretty sure he is ahead of us in science, and we should be able to check that. So we're currently on 276 score for technology. William is on 288. Did I read that wrong? Oh, I'm on 296 for technology, okay. So we're officially ahead of the Netherlands on tech. We're behind Poland, as we always have been, but we've done a pretty good job of catching up. So for those of you who are just watching this part and haven't watched the previous parts, there were definitely points where this did not look good, and I thought I might not be able to win it. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but it's starting to look like we have the best shot at a victory here, so kind of need to be very careful, don't take anything for granted, and just keep producing anything we can to stay in the game and preserve the current status quo. Got an extra destroyer here, which we can't really do too much with. I think we'll just, again, move it up towards Istanbul. Can't get there, but if we do decide to go to war with Byzantium or something like that, we should be able just to move it through in the space of a turn. Oh, we can actually... oh, crap. We can actually build the Great Scientist, and we could have done it ages ago. So I've really shot myself in the foot there, actually. The Great Temple probably did kick in and probably did save us a couple of turns, but I completely passed over that. There's just so much to keep track of. So we can get a Great Scientist next turn. We could have already done it. I don't think it makes too much of a difference. But yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate because I could have done that, I think maybe even 4 turns ago. Okay, we've got yet another unit from Sidon, which is great. Not sure why they're all going to Ankara, but I don't mind. Given us a bazooka, which is a very good unit to have. Okay, so that's great. Missile cruiser is done. We are going to get extra damage against naval units because those are by far the biggest threat, and I think we will leave this one in the town if we can. Then we've got some free production, so we can build another missile cruiser, I think, before we decide what to do. Let's make sure we don't forget this. So, Great Scientist. Just need to move something out of the town. I'm not sure exactly what's causing the problem there. I can potentially get it in The Hague instead. Yeah, so we'll get a great scientist at The Hague, and then should be able to finish off nanotechnology next turn. I'm going to reassure myself that if we had bought the great scientist a few turns ago, we wouldn't have been able to finish off nanotech quite that quickly. Not sure if that's true, but that is what I'm going to tell myself, and then I think we can probably just work on something that only takes the one turn. So guided missile is a fairly safe choice, I guess. Could also go for artillery. Pretty outdated now, but it's better than nothing, so let's just do it. And then yeah, the missile cruiser here I think does have to move, if I'm interpreting this correctly. We're going to put it there, and we're just going to move on to the next turn. And I think next turn is going to be the key turn where we can potentially finish off nanotech, and then it's just going to be a case of finishing off that final spaceship part. There's really no sign that anyone else is about to win the game. I feel like they could have done it if they were really prioritizing, they could have, but I think that not only have we managed to keep ourselves safe by turning the AIs against each other, I think we've also done a really good job of distracting them from actually going for the victory. So it's looking pretty positive, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, we're going to put this guy on top of the Great Artist because the Great Artist is incredibly important, so I think that does make sense, just to ensure that he's that little bit harder to kill. Very unlikely that it would happen, but I guess technically this bazooka might be able to get through. No, it couldn't. Still, we need to put it somewhere, so we're going to put it there. And then we've got a destroyer here, which we're going to put on alert stance. This guy, we're going to go ahead and I think discover the last tech. Yeah, that does finish it off. I'm not sure how overkill it was, but I'm hoping we have just about timed that right. And then we can start getting to work on the SS stasis chamber. And once we finish that, we will win the game. So none of this stuff really matters anymore. We're going to go for nuclear fusion so we can get a few giant death robots, or at least in theory we could, but we should finish off the SS chamber, or whatever it's called, before that happens. Okay, we've got lots of players denouncing the Huns, and I realise I've not actually sold my vote on this. I think I just want to abstain. I really don't... I don't want to upset anyone. Even this will upset the Huns. I really do just want to keep things ticking along roughly as they already are. So I'm going to try to abstain on all that. And then we do have some free production in Constantinople, which we can't really get through this annoying hex, which has screwed us over in lots of annoying little ways. But I guess if we just get to work on things like fighters and bombers, we can at least move those to Istanbul. And it looks like we're not going to spend our uranium, but the atomic bomb at this rate would be done on the same turn as the SS stasis chamber. There's 0 point going for that. So yeah, we will go for the fighter just for that sake, just for the sake of having a little bit of extra anti-aircraft defense. And then our free production here, again, we've got 6 turns potentially to go until we win the game, so I don't really think we can do much with that. I guess we'll just produce some guided missiles, because we can move all of those over to Istanbul, and I don't really think there's much else that's going to make too much of a difference at this point. Cargo ship here is free. Do we want to keep sending production to The Hague? Is it actually going to make any difference at this point? Should we send food instead? We don't need science at all anymore, pretty much. So I mean, it really doesn't matter at this point. It's pretty much just a case of counting down these final few turns. Let's double check that we are working all the production tiles we can be working, which I think we are. And we are going to produce probably one more great artist before the end, but we've already got our golden ages going, so I don't think that makes too much of a difference. Okay, so rocket artillery here is done. We're going to move that up to here just to help defend from Poland if Poland does decide to attack us. Missile cruiser, we're going to start sending as close to here as we can. Can we actually get there? Okay, so we've actually now been blocked in by Belfast, which has just been settled on this pretty crappy little island. Speaking of which, let's see how this is doing. So it did actually make it up to 3 population in the end, which is actually a little worse than I expected. So at least the game has kind of punished Poland for that absolutely terrible settle. I mean, this is not great either, but this is exceptionally bad. Still, we can't really do much with our missile cruiser, so I guess we'll just leave it around here just to help defend against Byzantium, who is of course not a threat. But we are talking purely in theory at this point. Okay, so I've been fearing this for some time. William has made peace with Boudicca, which I think means William is no longer at war with anyone. I was starting to think it might be a good idea to send Poland to attack Byzantium at this point, because it really doesn't matter too much if he takes their towns. It's not going to have any impact on us, and should at least mean that a few of these units end up dying. If I can afford to do both that and keep the Netherlands distracted, then I will. But I'm not really sure, we'll have to see what happens. So, world religion, Buddhism has failed, no surprise there. Embargo on the Huns has passed, but I played no part in that, so hopefully they don't mind me too much. Okay, let's see. So, 5 turns to go, what can we do? Probably just more guided missiles, to be honest. I don't think there's really much else. Yeah, let's just keep going for those. And let's see, what can we do? Check out the diplomacy. Let's check out who's at war with who. So the Celts is no longer at war with anyone. I know they don't like the Huns, so I might be able to send them to war with the Huns. These guys likewise. They are at war with Byzantium actually, so they have got something to do in theory. I'm probably, because they're technically at war with no one, I'm probably slightly more worried about the Celts, and they're not really too near us, but I mean, to be honest, it doesn't really make any difference. Like, how is she possibly gonna do any damage to us in the next 4 turns? It seems incredibly unlikely. But I guess the Huns could, so if we can send someone to attack the Huns, that would be good. Although even the Huns should just attack our lesser towns. Like, the Huns have no way of attacking Istanbul. So before I do this, let's just make sure that all of these units are being spent as inefficiently as possible. And let's see if we can make that war happen between him and Theodora. Yeah, so he's willing to do it. We have to vote for him as world leader. We have to potentially give up our ivory. I want to see if I can just pay him instead. Let's try 210. How about that? Not quite. I feel like he would accept it pretty soon. There we go. Okay, so he's now at war with Byzantium, so we should have a bit of entertainment for the last few turns. And we still got enough in the bank that I think we can pay the Netherlands to go to war with the Huns. Try 270. Okay, not willing to go for that. I'm sure we will get him pretty soon. We don't have any real spare resources we can give up. I'm not willing to give up my oil just in case. There we go, 330 gold, and he is at war with the Huns. So that's pretty much every player distracted with the exception of the Celts. Maybe I could turn the Celts against Byzantium as well. Let's have a go. We would have to declare friendship with her, but I guess we can do that. Unless we've already done it. I can't remember. No, we're neutral. I don't think she's willing to be our friend anymore. Okay, fine. Let's see. Yeah, so she wants a lot for that, so I think we're just going to risk that, you know, she can't do anything to us. And it doesn't really matter too much if she's not at war with anyone. So she wants war with Poland, which is interesting. I don't think I can actually pay her to do that, and I am losing gold, so I think we just have to accept that everything that is going to happen is going to happen. There's pretty much nothing we can really do to change the course of things at this point. The odds of Poland putting together several spaceship parts at once and suddenly launching them are slim to none, so that's good. However, if he did decide to declare war on us, which, to be fair, I don't think anyone's declared war on us at any point in this game, unless they've not been at war with anyone else. I could be wrong. But in theory, if he did declare on us and he dropped a nuke on Istanbul, he could do some damage. There you go, he's starting to make his move on Byzantium's capital. Don't think he's going to be able to take it for a few turns at least, but we'll let him do some damage. As she's made peace with the Netherlands, don't think that matters too much. And do I need incense? I think we'll still accept the incense. Okay, so the Netherlands needs to only be influential with one more civilization to win. But Poland is also doing pretty well for culture. So yeah, they're still going to be able to hold out for potentially 92 turns. If the Netherlands is able to double their tourism output, it's still going to be like 40 turns. So even though it says that, we should actually be pretty safe. And we can't really do much with this, so again we're just going to go for guided missiles. And I'm not sure if this is just OTT, but we don't really need the last great artist. We definitely aren't going to get a great writer at this point, so if we just take these guys off this, does that actually improve our production? Apparently not. I'm kind of thinking that unemployed citizens might give us a bit of extra production, but it looks like it's not really going to make any difference. So, I mean, we could just force them not to work on these sea tiles, but no, I don't think it makes any difference. I'm just being super paranoid. Okay, we've got a stacked unit here, let's just put him up there, put him on alert. We are about to run out with our golden age, but we should be able to kick another one off straight away, and then we should potentially get an extra great artist in the next turn or two. Also about to get a new tenet. Okay, so Golden Age has ended. Before we forget, let's just straight away kick off another. It's going to cover us for 12 turns, which is of course more than enough. This thing can just move to Istanbul. This guy seems fine. This guy likewise to Istanbul. Then we do have the extra social policy, which +4 production in the city with the East India Company is probably slightly more justified, actually. I mean, this is potentially useful. +15% attack bonus when fighting in friendly territory. But yeah, I guess if there's any threat at all at this point, it's Poland attacking us. So yeah, Patriotic War I think is still the best choice. We don't really need the +4 production. He's not going to finish the spaceship in the next 3 turns. And yeah, just going to keep getting guided missiles over here because there's not really much else we can do. Okay, we've got what I think is our last great artist. Again, we can't really do much with him. I guess we could just create a great piece of work. Don't think that actually changes anything at all though, so I mean there's literally nothing else we can do with him. We've got a Golden Age for 11 turns, so yeah, let's just create a great piece of work. There's nothing else we can do. And we've got a guided missile here which we're just going to put in Istanbul, and we should have a fighter somewhere too. Okay, guided missile in 1 turn, and yeah, we should have 1 extra unit somewhere. Let's have a look. Sure we do. Okay, so here we have the fighter. Just going to put him in Istanbul as well. Okay, so we've got an atomic bomb, a fighter, and 3 guided missiles, and it looks like Poland has completely moved on as well, so that's all good. Okay, and one final interesting thing to happen. Casimir's made peace with Attila. He is of course still at war with Byzantium, so if anything it just means that all of this stuff is now going to get thrown at Theodora, but it's too late for Poland to do any real damage to Theodora, and it's too late for anyone else to do any real damage to us. Okay, we're now up to the final turn, and I think it's been clear for some time this is pretty much in the bag. I don't really see what could possibly go wrong at this point. Even if Poland did declare on us, I don't think he has any nukes left. He's probably already spent them on his many other enemies. So yeah, it's looking pretty much like we now are going to win the game. If you've only joined us for this part, then you won't have seen some of the previous parts where there was a lot of grinding. I don't know what else to call it. It was really tough to make a push on our opponents because we got dragged into so many other wars with so many other players, and it was just pretty much impossible to actually make a push on anyone because we just had to constantly go back and defend. I think we lost Ankara twice. We had the city over in the east that we lost that would have made a massive difference. Ended up replacing it with Iconium, which did pretty well. I don't even care what I say to you anymore. Ended up replacing it with Iconium, which ended up doing fine. But that was still a bit of a blow at the time, and definitely ruled out a domination victory, if nothing else. So yeah, it's definitely been an interesting ride. And I don't know exactly when I'm going to play another Civ 5 series. I probably will at some point, so if you enjoy it, then do make sure you're subscribed. I do plan to at some point. I've got a couple of ideas for other series. We've just unlocked a new achievement, a magnificent victory. So yeah, that's got to be it. I'm not sure what's taking so long. There we go. The space victory is done, and we have completed the playthrough. So there will be a few other graphs and things we can look at, so I probably will make one more video which is just going to be the kind of time-lapse graph, because I think that is interesting even if you haven't watched the series. But that concludes the Civ 5 Deity playthrough as the Ottomans. Definitely been very difficult at points, and definitely a hard-earned victory, I would say. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Do of course feel free to check out other playlists on the channel if you'd like to check out another playthrough. But for now, that is going to be it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.